Welcome to English Easy Hub. Join us as we ignite the flames of your English learning journey together.
Please subscribe to watch and embark on your English learning journey. Don't miss out on the exciting content. In this conversation, Simon, a student working to improve his spoken English, seeks guidance from his teacher on how to analyze his own recordings to identify and correct speaking mistakes. The teacher provides valuable insights on how to evaluate key aspects of spoken English, including pronunciation, fluency, grammar, word choice, expressiveness, and sentence structure. The dialogue covers practical techniques, such as listening for minimal pairs to identify pronunciation errors, using transcription to spot grammar mistakes, and focusing on fluency and intonation to sound more natural. Additionally, Simon learns how to improve his overall confidence and eliminate filler words through conscious practice.
Hi, teacher. I've been working on improving my spoken English, and I heard that analyzing my recordings can help me identify my mistakes. Can you give me some advice on how to find my speaking issues from recordings?
Absolutely, Simon. The first step is to focus on key areas like pronunciation, fluency, and grammar. Listen for any words you mispronounce or struggle with. Fluency issues often appear when you pause excessively or hesitate. You should also check for grammar mistakes or awkward phrasing that might make your speech sound unnatural.
That sounds helpful. But how do I know if I'm making pronunciation errors? Sometimes it's hard to tell if I'm making a mistake or if it just feels off.
Good point. To identify pronunciation issues, focus on minimal pairs, words that sound similar but have different meanings like bat and bet, or ship and sheep. If you can't hear the difference in your recording, then that's something to work on. You should also listen for stress and intonation patterns. They're crucial for sounding natural.
Minimal pairs. I'll definitely pay more attention to those. What about fluency? I'm not always sure if I'm speaking too fast or too slow. How can I evaluate my pace from a recording?
To evaluate fluency, listen for unnatural pauses. If you pause for more than a second in the middle of a sentence, it could indicate hesitation. On the other hand, if you speak too quickly, it may sound unclear or rushed. Try to find a pace that's comfortable but still smooth and understandable.
That makes sense. I know I sometimes rush when I get nervous. I'll try to slow down. But how about grammar? Are there any specific grammar mistakes that tend to stand out in spoken English?
Good question. In spoken English, focus on verb tense consistency and the use of articles. Many learners make mistakes with verb tenses, switching between past and present unexpectedly. Also, check for errors with articles like "and" and "the." For example, saying "I have car" instead of "I have a car" is a common mistake.
Got it. I'll keep an ear out for those mistakes. But what if I'm unsure about an error after listening to my recording? How can I double-check my analysis?
That's a great question. If you're unsure, try transcribing your recording. Writing it out will help you spot issues that might not be obvious from just listening. Once you have the transcription, you can compare it with a textbook or an English article to check for differences. Also, reading the transcription aloud helps you catch mistakes you missed in the original recording.
Transcribing sounds like a great way to catch mistakes I might overlook. What about word choice? I sometimes feel like I use awkward phrases that don't sound natural. How can I spot those?
Listen for phrases that might sound too formal or out of place. For instance, if you're talking casually but use a word like commence instead of start, it may sound a bit stiff. A good way to catch this is to compare your sentences with how a native speaker would express the same idea. Also, think about context. Some words may not fit depending on the situation.
I'll definitely try that. But what about expressiveness? Sometimes, I feel like I sound a bit flat in my recordings. How can I make my speaking more dynamic?
Expressiveness is really important in spoken English. Pay attention to your tone and intonation. If your voice stays monotone, it can sound flat. Native speakers vary their pitch and stress important words to convey emotion. When listening to your recordings, Ask yourself if the tone matches the message you're trying to deliver. If it doesn't, practice adding more variety to your pitch.
I hadn't thought about how much tone can affect my speaking. What about filler words? I tend to say and like a lot. How can I reduce them?
Filler words are a common issue. The best way to reduce them is by practicing pauses. When you're speaking and need time to think, instead of filling the gap with or like, just pause. Pauses sound much more natural and keep your speech clear. You can also record yourself consciously avoiding fillers, and over time, it'll become more natural.
That's a great tip. I'll work on pausing instead of using fillers. What about my sentence structure? Sometimes I feel like my sentences are disjointed. How can I improve that?
Sentence structure is important for clarity. Listen for any awkward or incomplete sentences or places where you might jump from one idea to another without smooth transitions. Check if you're using linking words like but, because, so, or therefore to connect ideas. Practicing more complex sentence structures, like compound or complex sentences, will help your speech sound more coherent.
Connectors. I'll work on linking my ideas better. What about the TH sound? It's hard for me to pronounce, and I'm not sure if I'm making it correctly.
The TH sound can be tricky. Listen closely to words like think, the, or thanks. If you're substituting the TH sound with D or T, that's a sign that you need to focus on it. When pronouncing it, ensure your tongue is placed lightly between your teeth, not behind them, and practice by repeating common words with the TH sound.
I'll practice the TH sound more. How about linked speech? I've noticed that native speakers tend to link words together, like saying gonna instead of going to. Should I practice that as well?
Yes, definitely. Native speakers often link words in a way that makes speech sound smoother. For example, gonna for going to or wanna for want to. It's called connected speech. While you don't want to force these changes, it's important to be aware of them. Practice listening to native speakers and try to mirror how they connect words in a natural way.
I'll start paying more attention to connected speech. What about confidence? Sometimes I get nervous and forget what I want to say. Do you have any tips for speaking more confidently?
Confidence comes with practice. The more you record yourself and listen critically, the more comfortable you'll become. Try speaking on topics you're familiar with, as it will ease your nerves. Shadowing native speakers can also help, as it allows you to mimic their intonation and rhythm, which can boost your confidence.
I love that idea. I'll try shadowing more. Thanks so much for your advice. I feel much clearer now about what to focus on in my speaking practice.
You're welcome, Simon. Keep practicing, keep listening to yourself, and remember that improvement comes step by step. You're on the right track. Just stay consistent and keep enjoying the process. It's all about finding joy in the journey as much as in the improvement.
Thanks again, teacher. I'll try applying all these tips. It feels like there's a lot to focus on, but at least now I have a clearer strategy.
Absolutely, Simon. Focus on one thing at a time and gradually add more elements as you get comfortable. Over time, you'll start noticing big improvements. And always remember, consistency is key. Keep up good work.
The core value of this conversation lies in the actionable strategies shared for self-improvement in spoken English. By focusing on specific areas like pronunciation, grammar, fluency, and natural expression, Simon gains a clear roadmap for analyzing his recordings and enhancing his speaking skills. The teacher emphasizes the importance of patience, consistency, and practice in overcoming language barriers. Through techniques such as transcribing, paying attention to linked speech, and reducing fillers, Simon can refine his speech and increase his confidence over time. Ultimately, the dialogue reinforces the idea that speaking is a skill that improves progressively with deliberate effort and reflection.
Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share to keep the English learning journey alive.